Since Pakistan came into being in 1947, the country has experienced a recurring cycle of tension between the aspirations of civil society for increased press freedom and the consistent efforts of the political and military elite to maintain a firm grip on media control. Under the guise of maintaining order in the country, the rulers, whether it's a military dictator or a civilian prime minister, the crackdown on free press has always been a priority to silence the critics. The regulatory bodies overseeing Pakistan's media operate under direct government control, prioritising the defence of the executive government over the public's right to information. With an increasing dominance of the military over civilian institutions, journalists are effectively prohibited from reporting on military and intelligence agencies' interventions in politics. A country of approximately 250 million, with a literacy rate of almost 60%, still stands at 150th position in the Press Freedom Index. Although press freedom has been questionable in Pakistan, the situation has worsened since April 2022. In April 2022, Imrankhan, a former cricketer turned politician, was ousted from power as a result of a no-confidence vote brought to the parliament by the opposition parties with the military's backing.
Parliament voted on the motion of no confidence after a nearly 14-hour standoff between Imran Khan's ruling party and the opposition.
174 members have recorded their votes in favour of the resolution.
Arshadsharif said Pakistan had been freed from a crisis.
Since then, a new tale of crackdown against press freedom and journalists is unfolding. As documented by the Press Freedom Network, the period between May 2022 and March 2023 witnessed a significant surge of 63% in press freedom violations in Pakistan. These violations encompassed various forms of threats, arrests, and physical assaults targeting journalists. The surge in brutality against journalists has raised serious questions about its underlying causes. Many critics argue that the coalition government, led by Arshadsharif and consisting of 14 political parties, is not the true governing authority. Instead, they contend that the powerful military establishment wields significant influence over the civilian government's decision-making processes. This assertion highlights a complex power dynamic, suggesting that the military exerts control behind the scenes, while the coalition government serves as a facade of authority. The question still remains as to why journalists and civil society in Pakistan are being targeted, even if the military holds decision-making power. The answer delves into a complex web of events. When Imran Khan's government was toppled in 2022, he initially accused the United States of orchestrating the conspiracy.
Under Secretary of State in the US, who's responsible for South Asia, he tells the ambassador that unless you get rid of your Prime Minister Imran Khan in a vote of no confidence, which by the way hadn't been tabled as yet, but he seemed to know about it, he said unless you get rid of him, Pakistan will suffer consequences.
However, according to him, he later discovered that his own Chief of Army Staff, General Qamar Javed Bajwa, had been lobbying against him in the US, portraying himself as pro-US and branding Imran Khan as anti-US. Subsequently, with the installation of a new government supported by the military establishment, various journalists and news networks began to question the military's interference in politics. This marked the beginning of a protracted conflict that surpassed everyone's expectations in terms of its atrocities and intensity. In an unspoken understanding with Pakistan, it is customary for journalists, civil society organisations, media groups, and the people to align themselves with the political party favoured by the military establishment during transitions of power. However, a new precedent seemed to be emerging when the people of Pakistan took to the streets to voice their discontent with the removal of Imran Khan from office. Simultaneously, some journalists and news media networks dared to question why a government known for its notorious corruption replaced Imran Khan's administration. Adding to the controversy, the newly appointed Prime Minister, Arshadsharif, was scheduled to face charges of money laundering on the very day he took the oath of office. Not only, these unprecedented events set the stage for a critical examination of power dynamics and raised significant doubts about the motives behind political transitions in Pakistan, but also brought serious risks to journalists wanting to exercise their basic right of free speech. The tactic of registering cases against political opponents for the purpose of exerting pressure is not a new phenomenon in Pakistan. However, the newly appointed government took this oppression a step further by targeting journalists with sedition cases, a technique reminiscent of the British colonial era when the subcontinent was under their rule. It is widely recognised that sedition cases in Pakistan are typically initiated by intelligence agencies to silence critics. What set this situation apart was the civilian government's unprecedented stance of not only defending these cases, but also threatening the press, perceiving them as a threat to their own legitimacy. This disturbing development signalled a dangerous erosion of press freedom and raised significant concerns about the state of democracy within the country. In late May 2022, a concerning development unfolded as multiple cases were filed against journalists Imranriazkhan, Sabir Shakir, Sami Ibrahim, and Arshadsharif. They were accused of criticising state institutions and allegedly abetting mutiny. The Pakistan Electronic Media Regulation Authority issued a stern warning to TV channels, cautioning against broadcasting content that ridicules state institutions, particularly the judiciary and the army. The army also expressed strong disapproval of attempts by certain political leaders, journalists, and analysts to deliberately involve its name in the ongoing political discourse within the country. This situation highlighted the tightening grip on media freedom and challenges faced by journalists in navigating the delicate balance between reporting and potential consequences imposed by state institutions. On July 5, 2022, journalist Imran Riaz embarked on a journey to Islamabad in a bid to obtain bail from the Islamabad High Court. Despite possessing court orders from both the Islamabad and Lahore High Courts, and being granted protective pre-arrest bail grants designed to prevent his apprehension, he was arrested by the authorities. Just moments before his arrest, Imran Riaz recorded a video on his cell phone, accusing a serving military brigadier of orchestrating his arrest. In an attempt to justify this oppressive act, Malik Ahmad Khan, the special assistant to the Prime Minister, conducted a press briefing and labelled the journalist as an individual working against the interests of the state. While Imran Riaz eventually obtained bail, he found himself facing another arrest mere months later. In July 2022, senior journalist Ayaz Amir also suffered an assault at the hands of unidentified assailants in Lahore. The incident followed Amir's participation in a seminar held in Islamabad, titled Regime Change and Its Fallout on Pakistan, where he publicly critiqued the powerful military establishment for its entanglement in Pakistani politics.
अमेरिका तो दूर है, कुछ फासले पे है, लेकिन जहां से बहुत कुछ हुआ वो तो जगह यहाँ इस्लामाबाद से नजदीक है.
Likewise, journalist Sami Ibrahim experienced physical assault outside his office in Islamabad during the same month. As a distressing chapter in the ongoing battle for free speech unfolded, renowned TV anchor and journalist Jamil Faruqi found himself behind bars in the port city of Karachi. This incident took place amidst a backdrop of heightened actions by the ruling alliance led by Shahbaz Sharif. These incidents served as a mere glimpse into the escalating challenges journalists in Pakistan were about to face. On August the 12th, a significant development unfolded as the government made the decision to revoke the security clearance of ARY News, the largest news media network in Pakistan. The reasoning provided for this action was based on adverse reports from intelligence agencies. In a notification issued by the ministry on August the 11th to the Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority, it stated, "The NOC issued in favour of ARY Communications Private Limited is cancelled with immediate effect and until further orders on the basis of adverse reports from agencies." However, this decision faced a legal challenge, and within 2 weeks, the courts overturned the cancellation of ARY News' security clearance. Yet, on August the 31st, another significant development occurred when a prominent news show anchor, Arshadsharif, was dismissed by ARY News. The official explanation provided by ARY News cited a breach of their social media policy as the reason for his termination. However, multiple sources claimed that there was a behind-the-scenes agreement between the top management of ARY News and the powerful military establishment along with the civilian government. Allegedly, it was agreed that the termination of Arshadsharif would pave the way for ARY News to resume its broadcasting operations. Arshadsharif found himself entangled in a web of legal troubles, with nearly 16 cases registered against him, predominantly involving charges of sedition and anti-state activities. The situation escalated to such an extent that Arshad was compelled to leave the country, unaware that he would never return to Pakistan alive. Disturbing revelations emerged during hearings in the Supreme Court of Pakistan on December 21, 2022, as Arshad Sharif's mother and wife submitted statements. These statements detailed how high-ranking intelligence officials conveyed messages to Arshad, warning him of severe consequences should he continue with his investigative journalism. The situation grew increasingly volatile, prompting Arshad to seek refuge in Dubai on August the 10th. However, he soon faced a daunting ultimatum from Dubai authorities: leave the country or risk being extradited to Pakistan under pressure from the Pakistani government and state institutions. Caught off guard and lacking visas for other destinations, Arshad had no choice but to depart Dubai for Kenya. In Kenya, he stayed for 2 months, and continued his investigative reporting through his YouTube channel, fearlessly raising crucial questions about the military's role in politics and vehemently criticising the incumbent government for their pervasive corruption. Tragically, on October the 23rd, Arshadsharif met a brutal demise in a highly suspicious encounter with the police in Kenya.
TV news anchor and critic of the powerful military establishment, he fled to Kenya earlier this year after threats to his life.
Investigative journalist Arshadsharif, who was killed in Kenya on Sunday night. Many are praising Sharif as a man who dedicated his work to ending corruption and challenging the political elite. It was well known to be highly critical of the government and military. He left Pakistan after saying he'd received death threats.
Reporters Without Borders, aka RSF, called for an independent UN probe into Arshad's killing. The 592-page investigation report seen by the OCCRP said the Kenyan police issued contradictory statements several days after the killing. The report also noted contradictions in autopsies performed in Kenya and Pakistan, as the autopsy report in Pakistan found 12 injuries on Sharif's body, while the Kenyan report noted just 2 gunshot wounds. UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay also deplored the death of the Pakistani journalist, saying that "I deplore the death of Arshad Sharif. It is crucial that the investigation launched by the Kenyan authorities be thorough and transparent and shed light on the motives of this killing." The circumstances surrounding his untimely death raised significant concerns and left many unanswered questions. One of the key questions is why Arshad had to leave his own country to save his life, and unlike many others, we may never see an answer to this. In the following weeks, the Pakistani government intensified its campaign to suppress journalists who dared to criticize their actions. Even prominent lawyer and rights activist Gibran Nasir fell victim to this oppression, being abducted by unidentified men and released after a day. These actions created an oppressive environment where only journalists and activists who aligned with the government enjoyed a semblance of peace, while others lived in constant fear and uncertainty. On February 2nd, 2023, prominent journalist Imranriazkhan was once again arrested, this time on charges of hate speech, and allegedly making statements that incited violence, with the alleged purpose of sowing division between the people and state institutions. Imran Riaz was eventually released a week later. However, amidst the ongoing crackdown on the media in Pakistan, another journalist, Siddique Jan, was apprehended by state authorities in the capital city. Reports indicated that Jan, serving as the bureau chief of Bol News TV in Islamabad, was taken away by plainclothes officials while he was outside his office. Although he was later released by the court, this added to the ongoing cycle of prosecution and intimidation faced by journalists as they strive to uphold their freedom of expression in Pakistan. On May the 9th, a shocking event unfolded in Islamabad as former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested by paramilitary troops who forcefully entered a courthouse. This arrest marked the culmination of months of political turmoil in the country following Khan's ousting. The arrest sparked widespread protests against Pakistan, prompting the authorities to take drastic measures such as shutting down the internet to disrupt coordination among protesters. Although Khan was eventually released, the authorities intensified their crackdown on journalists. On May the 11th, journalist Imranriazkhan was arrested for the 3rd time at Sialkot Airport while attempting to leave the country. On the same day, senior journalist Aftab Iqbal was apprehended at his farmhouse in Lahore. While Iqbal was later released based on court orders, Imranriazkhan remains missing. Enforced disappearances have unfortunately become pervasive throughout Pakistan, extending beyond conflict-ridden regions to the entire country. The involvement of the military in these disappearances is often shrouded in secrecy, making it challenging to fully understand its extent. Human rights organisations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, have documented cases implicating the military in enforced disappearances. The international community has expressed repeated concern about this issue, with the United Nations Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances calling on the Pakistani government to ensure accountability and prevention of such incidents. Organisations like Reporters Without Borders, Committee to Protect Journalists, and International Federation of Journalists, among others, have demanded the return of Imranriazkhan. It appears that the state is determined to spare no one who challenges its policies, creating a chilling climate for dissenting voices. In their quest to suppress dissenting voices, Pakistani authorities are not only targeting those within the country, but also journalists like Sabir Shakir, Moeed Pirzada, and Wajahat Saeed Khan, who sought refuge abroad. These journalists face state persecution, as authorities have filed cases against them, accusing them of inciting violence against state institutions and attempting to implicate them in the protests following the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan on May the 9th. Additionally, veteran journalist Shaheen Sabai who has been residing in the US for an extended period, has also become a target as authorities have registered a case against him, alleging anti-state activities. According to an investigative report by The Intercept, a prominent independent news outlet based in the United States, a clandestine meeting took place in Islamabad. The meeting involved influential figures in the Pakistani media industry who were summoned by the military for a secretive discussion regarding the country's political and constitutional turmoil. Journalists familiar with the gathering revealed that attendance was compulsory, leaving no room for refusal. During the meeting, a clear directive was conveyed: cease all coverage of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who was engaged in a contentious conflict with the military. Pakistan holds a special status with the European Union called GSP+, which is an incentive arrangement for sustainable development and good governance. In July 2023, during the renewal deliberations of Pakistan's special status with the European Union, the EU ambassador to Pakistan, Reena Kionka, voiced the concerns of EU member states regarding the alarming human rights situation in the country.
Pakistan is a state party to the ICCPR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which means that Pakistan has agreed that every person has the right to a fair and public trial in a court that is independent, impartial, and competent, and also has the right to adequate and effective legal representation.
During the 53rd session of the UN Human Rights Council in July 2023, Pakistan received a total of 340 recommendations, emphasizing the urgent need to comply with international conventions to cease the harassment of journalists and end the crackdown on freedom of speech. The recent period since April 2022 has marked a dramatic escalation in media repression, with a significant surge in press freedom violations documented. The crackdown on journalists and digital content creators has escalated to alarming levels, with journalists facing threats, arrests, physical assaults, and even enforced disappearances. The Pakistani government, under the guise of maintaining order, has sought to stifle critical voices, leaving the media industry in a constant state of fear and uncertainty. The complex web of power dynamics within Pakistan is not easily unravelled. The influence of the military establishment over civilian institutions and political transitions has raised serious concerns about the authenticity of governance and the suppression of dissenting voices. Journalists who dare to question the status quo face dire consequences as they become entangled in cases of sedition and anti-state activities. As we conclude, it leaves us with profound questions. How long can this oppressive environment persist before encountering resistance from within or outside the country? Can the people of Pakistan, civil society, and journalists find common ground to forge a path towards genuine press freedom and democratic values? And most importantly, will those who have paid the highest price for truth and justice find the justice they deserve?